Hello everybody, Carl and Erynn here, and we've got a great West Virginia tune, Jake's Got the Bellyache. It's a modal tune and crooked, so it's got some nice challenges, a great fiddle tune, and a nice challenge for the guitar player. We'll start out playing just the major chords, which works great, and then maybe explore a little bit more of droney approach, where we're not playing that major determinant note and just kind of getting, like I say, droney, leaving out the major sound where you're kind of mysterious. So we'll get Erynn to fiddle it for us a couple times through. Jake's Got the Bellyache.
Great tune from Edden Hammons.
That's mysterious.
I know.
Thank you. All right, Jake's Got the Bellyache.
All right.
He wasn't feeling too bad. Maybe it sounds like he was feeling fair to middling. So thank you, Erynn. All right, I'll slide in here and we'll just kind of talk about some possibilities for a few minutes for A modal or Jake's Got the Bellyache back up there. So one thing to notice, the chords, when you do the major chord there, the first part just kind of goes from A to G and A, and then a kind of an E back to A. One thing that I first noticed about a tune like that is try to get, you can kind of outline a little bit of the rhythm sometimes is one approach. So keep that in mind. So just with the major chords, I'm just playing, of course, you can always think about also walking to the next chord. Of course, you have to start really like A, you can walk to G. So it's 4 beats per chord, and then E back to A. Walk or not. And then you have that distinctive phrase, so that could be kind of 3 chords, or just a long A and a quick E. So what I started doing there, listening to her play it, I was kind of going, add a little G, kind of that bluesy note walk, a little bit to the rhythm. So first just playing the major approach there. A, and of course the A you can bar it or play it a lot of different ways fingering wise, but it has that major note in it, right? So that's sounding kind of more conventional. So there, A to G and E. Another thing you can do is do a long walk. It's kind of exciting sometimes. You don't want to overwalk, but keep in mind in between the cracks, you can kind of arrive at the new chord with a long walk. So I'll try it that way one time. So you can just do a long walk instead of the E chord, and we'll try that little. Another thing I like to do sometimes to start getting a little more mysterious, you can kind of get an E minor sound a little bit in there, which is really for a G. Up to this, if you go up to even just a droney G there. It has a major note in it, but it sounds more like an E. Just listen to what it sounds like. So that's getting a little fancier, but it's a pretty sound. It's kind of going from A to another approach somebody might have on this tune. Instead of just staying in A the whole time. You know, where it's going at G, they might do a little more, droney with an A bass. Going A to G, but keeping the A bass. And that's kind of pretty. So that's kind of like that. So what we're going to do, explore on the second part, really gets more, so it's really a lot of A, and you could just do all A, and kind of a bluesy walk back or an E. But that's a good place to start exploring also just a droney A, since we're going to stay in A a lot. So let's just look at a real nice exercise here first of all. Well, first of all, just think about when you play your regular A chord, that major note, to get rid of that major note, what a lot of people do, they'll go up to this second and first string bar 5 and get just a droney A there. Sort of like Johnny B. Good's about to happen. But then you want to get the A lowest, a long A, and if your hands have trouble with that, we can look for other ways to do it. But so I would just kind of, and even they would bar the fourth string too, which is the same sound, right? So if you bar 2 and 2 on the fourth and third string, and then bar 5 and 5, you got a real nice, kind of a hard to reach. But a lot of times I might, if I just get selective with my right hand, I'll just hit the fifth string and just get the first 3 strings. You have to get just good pick practice to be able to jump and skip a string. So notice that would be your droney A, and a droney G would be down, doing that right there. Right? But let's go, so that's one of our choices on the first 3 strings. I'm going to go ahead and show you one more. If you go way down, let's just play a D chord for a second, even though it's not in our tune. But let's do a D chord and then bar that D. First finger gets 3 strings and get your second finger on the 3rd fret, second string, and your little finger gets the long reach there. And that takes away that major note. Again, you're going up to a higher, you're doubling up and getting the root, the name of the chord and the fifth, the droney. The fifth notch of the chord, or if you're thinking of 3 notes of a chord, you got bottom, middle, top. That top note, the 1, 3, 5, however you want to look at it, is a droney, very droney note. So if we take this shape way up the neck to 9, you got a beautiful droney A way up the neck. And of course the droney G would be here. So I'm up on, if looking at that, I've got, I'm barring it, or really you don't have to bar it, you can kind of do them individually, but you can kind of find the shape by a barred D chord. So I have 9, 10, and 12 for my A, and my whole step back, of course, A to G is a whole step, 2 frets. And then you still have that down here for E if you take it way down to the 4th fret. And then you could go to that long A shape. So that might be a dramatic big finish, do 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 do. That. So that's let's just do a nice exercise here, and I'll come back around to the tune. One thing to work on is just doing the same shape, crossing the strings. I'm gonna go from the first set of 3 strings, the high strings we could call them, with that shape, and then what we end up doing is like a tag team. You end up copying. You copy the shape you had, but you got to change fingers. So I've got 12, 10, and 9. I'm gonna go over to that 10 and 9 and go to the 4th string. So I'm changing my fingers around. So here to the D shape, right? Then I get that D, the bottom of that D shape, and get the 7th fret. And that becomes nice and even more useful in this tune because you have the 5th string drone right next to it. So you can kind of strum those inside strings after hitting the 5th string drone. And guess what? From A to G, you'd go down to the 5th fret. That's getting a little more useful sound. I mean, a little more, that sounds a little more in a nice range too. So there's your A, and there's the root, on the top there. You got the droney stuff here, you're doubling up actually the name of your chord. And then G, and then guess what? To go to E, you'd go down to the E bass is right there. The 4th string is your root, and the 2nd. And you can just go to, another thing just to mention about droney stuff, just playing the regular chords and leaving out the major note is pretty handy. If you want to get droney, you just play the 4th and 3rd string with the 5th string bass, and G you'd pick the low bass, 3rd fret low, and the 4th. So you can leave leave out the major note and get that sound there too. And E is going to be, just remember that droney sound, the root, when you bar 2 strings on all the strings except the second and third, the higher note, make sure this is right, yeah, is the name of the chord. Of course you have it a different shape with the low one, but when you bar a straight shape, you've got the droney note below and the name above. Anyway, so there's your E, that would be an A. G's open. So we're just using those shapes. A, G, A, E. With the bass. Pretty handy. And of course we can do bass folks. That's without the major notes in it. That sounds good too. To have some options. And there are fiddlers, believe it or not, that'll tell you, I don't want leave out the thirds, which is just that major note. If they have a real mysterious, or they want to get a real evocative, kind of mysterious atmosphere going, they might want you to leave out and do the droney kind of stuff there. So let's go up here. Just one thing you can do, let me show you one other shape that really sounds good, I think, in this, is just putting this, I'm going back to my, and again, just finding a tuning checkpoint, a nice way. Of course, you can use the 5th fret below, but you can also use the 7th fret above. I'm going to go to the 4th string, 7th fret, and then hit that O, that's the high A and a low A back to back, and then we just put that top of a D shape together. So that's 7, 9, and 10. And something that's really nice to do, you got that second finger hanging out, so you can put a bluesy. I love the sound of that going from A to an A7 or even a G, sort of suggested. Nice, almost a Celtic effect there. But that could be a nice approach to that first part. And an E, handy right there, is just going over, getting 7 and 9, just like you have down here, open. There, so, and that's a good rock and roll kind of sound. The 5th, where you move that. That's the root and the 5th, the droney note. So anyway, listen to that as a backup for the either part, really, that A, and then putting the bluesy note in there. Something else you could do is go down to the G with this whole, move it all down. That sounds good too. And I was playing with the low stuff. I went on down to a major note and got a little major, so you don't have to leave all the major notes out. Experiment and see what works good for you. Anyway, so I think what we'll do, let's try using this for the droney approach, adding that bluesy note in there, and put it back down. And let's keep that shape and scoot way down to the 2nd fret, and that way keep the A bass, see what that, or you hit the low bass too for E, but and then go to it, the A, the long A. So that would be my, let's see what that sounds like. And that could be either part. I'm going to use it for the first part and see what it sounds like. That works pretty good. And maybe here I'd go to that G. Very different, and it's a little more work on the left hand, but great to be able to get these shapes, where you're doubling up on the root a lot of times, or the 5th, and you don't have that middle note. So just see if you have that. Let's just do one little extra, remind ourselves of that exercise, going up to the 9, 10, and 9 like a D barred, and then you can leave off the bar and just get up and get the little finger on 12. Let's just practice doing that and traveling over to the next shape, get the bottom of that with the little and 3rd finger, and get the 4th string, 7th fret. Travel over to that, and that can be moved back and forth. And then let's travel again. Let's get this. You go over to here and you have 9, 7, 7. That's still A. And if I traveled again, I'd go. Then you are starting to sound like a rock and roll. The Ventures may want to hire you up for their next gig. They go to Japan about once a year, have a big gig. So let me just do that one time for your, just watching there, just to practice traveling across with the droney in a droney caravan. So there's my A, and that's I'll just describe again: 12, 10, 9, and then I'm gonna go second string. Of course, you have the 10 and 9 on the third, and 7 on the fourth. Then you got the nice A bass, which is really handy. That's a good one for sure. And then we travel again, get the third string, ninth, and then you got 7 and 7 on 4 and 5. Kind of bar that. And then you're going to go ahead and go to the fourth string, 7 and 7. That bar, that's that droney sound, right? Your root's on the higher string, and the low bass, you got another root. So that's just a great. There it is. And also keep in mind you have three strings, in a string set. One good way to look at that, you have 4 different groups of 3 strings on a guitar, adjacent strings. So 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 5, and 4, 5, 6. I'll get my math together here eventually. So let me do just if you played the high strings, just to give you an idea what it sounds like there, you'd have to jump over your bass. You'd have to leave out some strumming. You'd have to strum the high strings with the 5th string bass. That's just an A to G sound. And then right here you can do that long A, but up here for E. That sounds pretty good. And you could also take it back to the right. E, 2, and A. And you might could shift. Right? Let's see, I didn't try the lower forms. What would that be like? You're going to lose your bass, but you could just do, instead of doing it, you could leave that, do that right there. It's the same thing you have without the high note. So it all sounds pretty different. I just hope it gets you exploring your possibilities of the drone and the guitar. Just remember that bar shape. The high note determines that's an E sound. And the nice thing to keep in mind, when you don't have that middle note, it can be major or minor sounding. So the ear can hear it different ways. Depending on what other instruments do, it can really vary whether it sounds major or minor or kind of in between. So let me do both parts there. And I'm going to start just with the major chords. And I think I really like, if you're playing low, I kind of think in just territories. I might say, okay, I'm going to back it up and stay kind of low. And then you can kind of think about different string sets also. So I'll just get my major chords first. G. And you can just use your major kind of notes. About that. Kind of catch that rhythm. Walk more. Long walk. Then you go up to that nice. Then maybe on the second part might be where you want to try to get a little bit droney there, right? And so maybe I would scoot up there to that and that start getting a little mysterious there. That's that. Remember the melody is and you can add the E right here. And you do that part 3 times with a little variance. So about that time, what would be really interesting to try is maybe start on the high strings for the first time through, then move to the next string set for that, and then kind of go back low. Let's see if that would work. So, and also if you finger pick, keep that. That's a great way to back up tunes. You have a little easier to grab, just to jump with strings, right? But I'm just going to do first time through, and then G, and I will try that long E on the high string, back to that A. First time through, then I'm going to jump to the next string set. Maybe the bluesy, and the E. Right, and then let's go ahead and jump down to maybe try the long A here. And get a G, almost a bluegrass G they'd call it. And then you're back down, ready for the first part again, back in the major territory there. That first part. You can even get a little, you might hear somebody do a C sound in there, which is it. So he might even hear somebody do a C to a G. And that might be a little far-fetched for some of the old fiddlers, but it is kind of in the melody, so don't rule it out. And then up that. Oops, now make sure you get the, don't get your shapes confused from that second, third, fourth string to the first three. So it's that the D shape, remember? And I'm just going back and forth from A to G, and then a long E, and then shift over. And you got that. Then we can just go back down here, and you can even go back, you know, a lot of possibilities. A lot of possibilities. I've probably given you too many, but just try to get droney. Think about other keys, and those same forms are going to work. You know, if say you're playing a tune in D or G or something, and see if you can figure out what the other how to move that around and leave out the major notes. A pretty good challenge, but this sounds great. Also, just one last for a couple of about a minute there. Just remember, if you capo up, a lot of people might try to do that with G and F kind of. Get some mystery there. That sounds good too, And I'm kind of leaving that third string open for a little mystery. It's not the major note, but it's kind of a haunting note. So that's another, you're kind of getting into the bluegrass sound almost there, which is nothing wrong with that. It's a great thing. So experiment with Jake's Got the Bellyache, and I think if you have a bellyache and you get to just working on this guitar work, you'll totally forget you have a bellyache after a while and be having so much fun. And you'll just have more variety in what you can do behind a fiddler. So that's what it's all about. The guitar is such a versatile instrument, so I think it's a wonderful pursuit. So I wish you all the best in your pursuit of backing up Jake's Got the Bellyache.